Hello everyone, today I'm here to bring you my May and June wrap up. June was kind of rocky month for me for reading. I didn't read a lot of books, but the books I read, a lot of them were amazing. Does that make sense? So I didn't have a lot of quantity of books, but I had more quality of books, which when I think about it more and more, that's actually what I'm striving for this year. I think previous years I've been more worried about the quantity of books I read. I'm like, I want to read 50, I want to read 60. This year I'm more worried about the quality of books I read. I'm very picky about the books I read this year. I look at a book and I'm like, do I really think I'm gonna like you? And then I'll read it. If I'm not into it, 20 pages now. I know. I usually will toss it aside, maybe try it later. I'm all about quality books this year. Does that sound like haughty or something? I don't know. I feel like this year has been one of the better, probably the best reading year I've ever had, because I've read so many amazing books because I'm being selective, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I read 4 books, I want to say, in May, and I read 3 books in June. So that's not surprising to me. In May, I read a lot of big books, and June was a very busy month for me, photography-wise. I had lots of weddings, I had lots of shoots, I had to throw a shower. It was just a crazy month. I'm happy that I had all that work, but now I'm ready just to kick back and read and relax and just zen out a little bit. Anyway, let's go on to the books I read these past 2 months. The first book I read in May I actually don't have with me, and that is The Last Letter to Your Lover by Jojo Moyes. I have this book along, I talk about this book along with another one in a mashup review, which I will leave down below. But I went into this book not expecting to love it as much. It's definitely like, I don't know, a sleeper agent of a book of Jojo Moyes. When you think of Jojo Moyes, you think of Me Before You, because it's amazing and awesome. And this one I just picked up on a whim and wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. That's why I call it a sleeper book. I feel like it's one of her better, amazing books that nobody really talks about a lot. It is an amazing book. It takes place in 2 time periods. It's all about this woman that wakes up from this accident. She has no recollection of who she is, but she finds these letters from her lover named B, and it's all like a mystery romance. I loved it so very much. I've loved everything Jojo Moyes has written. Like, she is just phenomenal. I gave this book a 4 out of 5. Definitely check out my review if you want to hear more what I thought about it. The next book I read in May should come as no shock to anybody on this earth, and that is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is one of the bigger ones I read. It was a massive book. I flew through it. I loved it. Actually, I want to say I didn't fly through this. I savored. You know, sometimes you love books so much you take your time because you don't want it to end. That was this book. If you're unfamiliar with this series, this is the second book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I gotta say, I like this one even more than the first one, and I love the first one. I feel like the series just keeps on better and better. This will actually be a trilogy, so next year we'll have the last one, and I'm ready for that. I'm not ready for that. Needless to say, I gave this one a 5 out of 5. I was obsessed with it. I loved it. I want more of Rhys. I want more of Rhys and Farah and the Night Court and the Summer Court and all of the courts. If you want to see more, what I thought, please check out my review. It's a lengthy one because I just say it all. The next book I read in May should also come as a surprise, and that is The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. Again, kind of a chunker of a book, not like insane, but I really love this one as well. I love anything that Morgan Matson writes. She's an amazing contemporary author. If you're looking for a fun summary read, this is the book for you. It's perfect to read this time of the year because it's just like, it doesn't take place on the beach, but it's a perfect beach read. All about this girl named Andy who has her whole summer mapped out. She's going to do this internship and all these other things, but her plans fall through, and somehow she gets to talking to her dad, which she doesn't have a great relationship with, and she becomes a dog walker and meets a boy. It's all about friendships and dogs and emojis, and it's just the quintessential summer read. 100%. I gave this one like a 4.75 out of 5. The more I think about it, the more I'm edging it closer up to a 5 out of 5, because the only thing I did not really enjoy about this book, it took a little bit to get into, but after that, once you get into it, you cannot put it down. You just want more and more and more. So every time I think about it, I'm like, I love this book. It's just that one little quirk that I didn't like, but Morgan Matson steals my heart every time. So the next book I read in May is actually a reread, and I actually listened to it, and that is Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix. This year I'm really trying to reread all the Harry Potter books, and I'm actually listening to them, which I love because I feel like listening to them is a whole new venture, and I feel like I'm reading them for the first time again, because it has been so long, guys, that I'm embarrassed to say when I listened to this book, I forgot a lot of it. I felt like I was literally reading it for the first time, and I'm ashamed to say that because because I'm such a huge Harry Potter fan. I'm like, I know everything about Harry Potter, as all of us really feel like. But when I listen to it again, I'm like, I cannot believe the amount of things I forgot, because it happens over time. You just forget. But needless to say, I love this book. I was worried about this because I always said this was one of my least favorites because of Harry's so whiny in it. But when you listen to it and read it, you understand why he is, and he's not like that for the whole book. He just has his moments, which are totally justified. Granted, what's going on in his life, which is crazy. But I like this one. It's not, I mean, all of them are 5 out of 5. Let's be real here, because Harry Potter, the best. But I will say this is not one of my all-time favorite Harry Potter books, but I really enjoyed it. I loved it. It was just, it's amazing listening to them. It's amazing. The last book of the month that I read, which is actually the one that kind of got me into a little slump, and that is Summer Days and Summer Nights. These are 12 love stories edited by Stephanie Perkins. I was so very excited for this book because there was also My True Love Gave to Me, which is like a winter anthology where it has 12 short stories as well, and I really liked that book. I thought it was perfect and wintry and lovey. I loved it so much. And when I heard that Summer Days and Summer Nights was coming out, I'm like, oh, a summer contemporary, everything amazing. And I was really disappointed with it, if I'm being honest with it. I didn't enjoy even half of the stories. I want to say maybe 2 or 3 I really liked. Stephanie Perkins in it was my favorite of the stories. The other ones were just kind of, I mean, I couldn't even finish them because they were just downright confusing. I just really did not enjoy this book a lot. And a whole review on it if you want to check it out, where I dissect each particular short story and whether I liked it or not. But like I said, this kind of put me in a slump. After this, I didn't read for like 3 weeks after this because, I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it. It just messed me up. So that was all the books I read in May. So June, like I said, I only read 3 books and 1 reread. So I guess you can count 4. I don't know. But yeah, Summer Days and Summer Nights put me into a slump where I didn't read for like 2.5 weeks. Every book I picked up I didn't like. I just was like, what? And then I finally decided to pick one up because if you haven't watched my tips for getting out of a slump, check it out because I used my own tips because they're my tips. But the one tip I use is to read something light and fluffy, and I always reserve some books on my shelf for that particular reason. And the one I picked up to help me with that slump is Love and Jalota by Jenna Evans Welch. This is in another Match It review along with the Jojo Moyes book if you want to check it out, so definitely do. This one definitely got out of my slump. It wasn't like the best contemporary book, but it fit my needs perfectly. It's a summer read for sure. Nothing too, in depth about it, nothing too heartbreaking and stuff. It was just that light summer read that you need. This is all about a girl who has to move to Italy all of a sudden because her mother dies, and it's her like dying mother's wish for her to meet her father, to learn about him, and so she meets him and she's on this wild goose chase in Italy trying to figure out more details, and it's just that. It's a perfect little summer read. It was okay, it wasn't the best, but if you're just looking for a quick summer read to get you out of a funk or a slump or whatever you want to call it, this is a great book to pick up. I gave it a 3.5, I'd say, probably 3. It was okay. It wasn't like the best, but I liked it. The next book I picked up is The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Adeli. I pronounced that wrong. I apologize so very much. This is the second book in the Wrath of the Dawn duology, so this was my first duology I finished. Go me, and I loved it. I read Wrath of the Dawn last year and absolutely loved it. I thought it was amazing, and I love this one even more. I thought it was a great conclusion. I love the romance in it. It was just awesome. If you don't know what the Wrath of the Dawn is about, it's basically like a retelling of 1001 Nights. It's all about this king who has a new bride every night, and every morning when the sun hits up, the bride is dead. And so this girl named Shazi decides to volunteer to sign up to be the bride in order to kill the king and figure out his secrets. And of course, things happen, romance ensues, all the amazing things. This is such a great action, like the Arabian Nights, Aladdin type of feel book. You will not be disappointed if you pick this book up because this duology, one of my favorite duologies, I've only read one, but series in general that I've ever read, amazing. 5 out of 5, hands down. I have a review on it where I gush and gush and gush and gush, and did I say gush? Gush about it. And the last book I read is actually a book I got in my Outcrate box, and I just really wanted to read it as soon as I saw it. When I opened it, I was like, I need to read this right now. And that is My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jodi Meadows. So we get 3 authors, and I have not read anything by Brody Ashton or Jodi Meadows, but I have read Cynthia Hand's Unearthly trilogy, which is one of my favorite underrated trilogies. If you want an amazing trilogy, check out Unearthly because it's amazing. This is all about My Lady Jane, Jane Grey. This isn't a historical YA novel, which I don't read too many historical novels, so yay for branching out. But this is all about Lady Jane Grey, like I said, in her very short reign of queen, like 9 days, and it was off with her head, literally. It's all about that. These authors decided to take Jane and give her a happier ending and make it funny and have a great adventure. This reminds me so much of The Princess Bride, how that amazing movie of it was. It was so funny. It was so amazing. I loved it so very much. I'm not going to talk anymore about it because I do have a review coming up soon of it, so be sure to check it out where I gush about it. But 5 out of 5. I expected to like this book. I didn't expect it to love it as much as I did. It was just amazing. So funny, so hilarious, romantic, funny. I loved it. And the last book I know I said it was the last book I read, but this is the last book I reread. And of course, that is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. When I listened to this again, I was like, this is right up there with Prisoner of Azkaban. The Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite book, which is the 3rd book, but this one comes a close second. This had so much going on in it. We're getting so much more dynamics because we're getting so closer to the end of the road, which I am so very sad about. When July is over, I will be done listening to the Harry Potter series, and I don't want that. I've only listened to the last 4, just listening to the first 3 just because I want to listen to them. But this was so amazing. We have so many things going on. We have the introduction of Ron and Lavender, and we have Harry and Ginny, and we have, you know, more about Horcruxes. We have so many things happening, and Malfoy and Snape, and just so many things. Like I said, if you guys want a review or a video about me talking about the 5th and 6th book, please let me know because I got a lot to talk about because this was just so amazing. I mean, you learn so much more about Voldemort in this book. It's just, I could talk about Harry Potter for days, like days. So that was my May and June wrap-up. So like I said, I didn't read a ton of books, but I feel like the quality of books I read were just amazing. I mean, I had 5 out of 5 books in 2 months, which is really good for me. I've been very strict about my rating books, and to get a 5 out of 5. Every time I say stuff like that, I feel like I'm just like, to get a 5 out of 5 from Heather is a big deal. And who am I? I'm nobody. But you know what I mean? Like I'm strict about ratings. When I have a 5 out of 5 book, I'm just like, that is just the best news ever. So to have 4 in 2 months, I'm pretty satisfied. I think when it comes down to it next year, when I have to write my 10 favorites, it's gonna be hard. If you have read any of these books I talked about, please let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.